The safest way to reopen the economy soon without causing a second wave in the virus will involve some notion of contact tracing. But there's a common misconception that this requires tracking people's locations. A friend of mine, Nikki Case, recently wrote up a post explaining why contact tracing is needed, and importantly, how the privacy-protecting variants of it work. This was done in collaboration with the epidemiologist Marcel Salathe and the security researcher Carmela Trencoso. What follows is a video adaptation of that post. As far as COVID-19 cares, there are only 3 kinds of people: not infected yet, infected and contagious but with no symptoms, and infected, contagious, and showing symptoms. If you have widespread testing, you can get people to self-isolate as soon as they show symptoms. The problem is that the virus still spreads because of all the contacts that happened while people are contagious but asymptomatic. However, if when someone shows symptoms and tests positive, you isolate not only them, but everyone they've been in contact with, you're staying one step ahead of the virus. The old school way to do this is with interviews, but that's slow, it's inefficient, and frankly, it's quite the intrusion on people's privacy. Another approach in the modern world would be to ask people who've tested positive to forfeit all the geolocation information from their phones, and then to track down the people who have been in those same spots. But now we are well into Big Brother territory, so do we have to sacrifice privacy for health? Well, I'll just let Nikki's illustration speak for itself here. There are several clever algorithms that let you alert everybody who's recently been in contact with someone who tests positive for COVID-19, but without compromising the privacy of anybody involved. Side note here, I found this very surprising. I know it shouldn't have been, since I've gone through this dance many times of thinking something's impossible only to see that cryptography makes it actually possible. But I would not blame anybody at all for assuming that downloading an app that can alert everybody you've been in contact with must necessarily be tracking and revealing your location and a lot of other information. The code for these apps is entirely open, so you don't have to trust me or whoever wrote the app or Nikki or anyone to believe that it's doing what it really claims to be doing. Anyway, back to the post. Let's see how this works with the help of Alice and Bob. Alice gets a tracing app. Every 5 minutes, her phone sends out some uniquely pseudo-random gibberish to all the nearby devices using Bluetooth. Because these messages are pseudo-random, they don't use GPS, and they contain no information about Alice's identity, not her location, not anything. It really is gibberish, but the key point is that this gibberish is unique. Now, while her phone sends out messages, it also listens for messages from nearby phones. For example, Bob's. Bob also has a privacy-first tracing app that's compatible with, or the same, as Alice's. If Alice and Bob stay close to each other for more than 5 minutes, their phones will exchange respective strings of unique gibberish. Both of these phones remember all of the messages that they said and heard over the last 14 days. Again, because the random messages contain no information, Alice's privacy is protected from Bob and vice versa. The next day, Alice develops a dry cough and a fever. Alice gets tested. Alice has COVID-19. This is not a good day for Alice. But she won't suffer in vain. Alice tells her app to upload all of the random gibberish messages that it's been sending out to a hospital database. And to do this, she uses a one-time passcode given to her by her doctor. This code is to prevent spam. The database then stores Alice's gibberish, and again, the random messages give no information about Alice, where she was, who she was with, what she was doing, or even how many people Alice met. It really is meaningless to the hospital. But it's not meaningless to Bob's phone. Bob's phone often checks this hospital list of random messages that have come in from COVID-19 positive cases. Essentially, the hospital's database is saying to all the phones out there, hey, we just got this new random gibberish. If you've seen that same random gibberish sometime in the last 14 days, it means you've been in contact with someone who just tested positive for COVID-19. Once Bob's phone recognizes some of these numbers that are the gibberish snippets now known to be associated with positive test cases, it can warn Bob to self-quarantine. And so, Bob cuts off the chain of transmissions. We're staying one step ahead of the virus. And that's it. That's how digital contract tracing apps can proactively prevent the spread of COVID-19 while also protecting our rights. Thanks, Alice and Bob. Stay safe. One important thing to realize is that you don't need everyone to have these apps. Estimates have it that about 60% would do the trick for COVID-19. Even if you can't catch all possible contacts, what you need is to catch enough so that the spread of coronavirus shifts from growing exponentially to shrinking exponentially. For those of you who know what this means, what we need is for R to drop below 1. The author of the post that this video is an adaptation of is a friend of mine, Nikki Case, who is a brilliant programmer and artist. He often makes these interactive explanations of societally important ideas, including a new one all about what happens next with COVID-19. So I would highly recommend taking a look at his work if you get the chance. He kindly made this post public domain, and moreover helped me in putting together this video. Any reasonable plan for reopening the economy without causing a second wave in the virus will include some kind of contact tracing. And given how counterintuitive the privacy protection here can be, I wanted to do all that I could to help amplify this message. If you agree, please do share either Nikki's original post or this video adaptation of it. And since the time that Nikki posted that, Apple and Google have put out press releases about their own interoperable contact tracing systems. And I'll tell you, I'm one of those people who aggressively turns off location tracking as much as I can on my phone, no matter how annoying the apps can be about asking. I'm looking at you, Fitbit. But I am 100% on board with these apps, because it's not tracking your location or anything like that. And if you're a nerd like me who wants to dig into the cryptography a bit, I would recommend looking at the white paper and the code for the DP3T algorithm, for which I've left links in the description. And as a final note, among the many unfortunate consequences of the lockdowns is a spike in calls to mental health services, like the suicide prevention hotline. If somebody that you know is at risk of suicide, give them a call, make sure they're doing okay. And if you're at risk, take a look at the resources in the description. And if it's an option, reach out to the people in your life to talk about what you're going through.